I wanted to spend some time going over how to do long division of polynomials because I know that's something you guys had a lot of issues with in class, and really and truly the best way to figure out long division is just more practice. I wanted to make sure you had some more examples. So our first example says 3x to the third minus 7x squared plus 2x minus 1, and I'm supposed to divide that by x squared plus 4. So I'm going to begin by writing out my problem in the correct format. So I have x squared. I am going to add in a 0x here because notice that I am missing my x term in the middle here. So really I'm going to change this to be x squared plus 0x plus 4. And anytime I'm missing a term, I always put a 0x there. So I have x squared plus 0x plus 4, and I'm dividing 3x to the third minus 7x squared plus 2x minus 1. So I first need to figure out, what times x squared is going to give me 3x squared, and that's going to go right here. So I need to figure out what, so something times x squared gives me 3x squared. Well, that's going to end up being 3x, because 3x times x squared gives me 3x. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply that. So now I multiply 3x times x squared, which is 3x to the third. And then I'm going to multiply 3x times 0x. Well, 3 times 0 is 0. And then if I have x times x, that's going to give me x squared. And then I have 3x. I'm going to multiply that by 4. Well, 3x times 4 would be 12x. So now I need to go through and switch all my signs, because since it's division, I end up subtracting. So I'm just going to write over these in purple. So we're going to follow the purple signs, not the red ones. We're following the purple ones. So I have 3x squared minus 3x squared. Well, this is going to cancel, and this should always cancel. If it doesn't cancel, then you did something wrong. Like, it should cancel every single time without fail. So these two are going to cancel each other out. And I am left with negative 7x squared plus 0x squared would be negative 7x squared. And then I'm going to combine my 2x minus 12x, which is negative 10x. And I'm also going to bring down my minus 1 here. So now I've got to figure out what times x squared is going to equal negative 7x squared. That's what I've got to figure out. Well, if I need to multiply something by x squared to be negative 7x squared, that something has to be negative 7. So now I do the math. I'm going to multiply negative 7 times x squared, which is negative 7x squared. And I'm going to multiply negative 7 times 0x, which is 0x. And I'm going to multiply negative 7 times positive 4, which is a negative 28. Since this is a division problem, I do need to switch all of my signs now. So I'm going to again do those in purple. So again, we're paying attention to the purple signs here. So this is going to become a plus, this is going to be a minus, and this one's going to be a plus. So I can combine my things now that I need to combine. I can combine my like terms. So I have negative 7x squared and positive 7x squared. These are going to cancel. Again, these should cancel. If they don't cancel, you did something wrong. And then I have negative 10x minus 0x, which would just be negative 10x. And then I have negative 1 plus 28, which is going to be 27, and it's a positive 27. So now I have to figure out, is there something that I can multiply times x squared to give me negative 10x? Well, in this case, I can't, because nothing times x squared is going to give me negative 10x, because notice this exponent here is less than the exponent of my problem. So that means that I'm done, and now I just have to write my answer. So my answer ends up being 3x minus 7 plus my remainder of negative 10x plus 27 divided by x squared plus 4. And this is how I would write everything. So just to show you where all the pieces came from, just so you can see where all the pieces came from, my 3x minus 7 was what I got up here when I actually did my division. My Negative 10x plus 27 was my remainder. That's what ended up on top. And then x squared plus 4 is what I was dividing by. And that's what I had up here that I was dividing by. And I did not write this with a 0x in the middle. I don't have to write that. But this would end up being my final answer. So for my next problem, I have 10x to the fourth minus 6x to the third plus 4x squared plus x, and I'm dividing that by 2x squared plus 6x minus 1. So only thing I'm missing here is I am missing my just constant term, so I'm going to put a plus 0 on the end of this, and I'm going to include that when I'm actually doing my division. So 2x squared plus 6x minus 1 is going to go on the outside, and then on the inside I have 10x to the fourth minus 6x to the third plus 4x squared plus x, and then my plus 0. So I've got to first figure out what times 2x squared gives me 10x to the fourth, and the answer to that question is going to be 5x to the second, so that's what I'm going to end up multiplying by here. It's 5x to the second, and 5x to the second times 2x squared is going to be 10x to the fourth, and then 5x squared times 6x is going to be positive 30x to the third, and 5x squared times 1 is going to be a negative 5x squared. And this is a division problem, so I'm going to end up switching all of my signs. So I'm going to minus here, and this becomes a plus sign. So when I combine these, my 10x to the fourths are going to cancel each other out, which they always should. If they don't cancel out here, then you did something wrong. That's a guarantee. I have 6x to the third, negative 6x to the third minus 30x to the third. That's negative 36x to the third. 4x squared plus 5x squared is going to be 9x squared. And then I'm going to bring down my plus x. So now I need to figure out what times 2x squared is going to give me negative 36x to the third. So I'm trying to figure out what number times 2x squared is going to give me negative 36x to the third. Well, that number is going to be a negative 18x. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply. Negative 18x times 2x squared is obviously negative 36x to the third. And then negative 18x plus 6x, when I multiply those two, I get negative 108x squared. And then I'm going to multiply negative 18x times negative 1, which is going to give me a positive 18x. So again, since this is a division problem, I'm going to switch all of my signs. So that becomes positive, positive, and negative. And as always, my 36 to the third and negative 36x to the third, positive 36x to the third do cancel each other out, which they should. And then I'm just going to add. So I have 9x squared plus 108x squared is going to be 117x squared. And I have x minus 18x, that's going to give me negative 17x. And then I'm going to bring down my plus 0. So I next need to figure out what number times 2x squared gives me 117x to the second power. So again, just to give you a good visual, that's what number times 2x squared is going to equal 117x squared. Now this one's a little harder to figure out because it's not going to be a whole number, but it is going to be a decimal, and it's not a terrible decimal. So that's actually going to be positive 117 over 2. So when I multiply 117 over 2 times 2, that's going to give me 117x squared. And when I multiply 117 over 2 times 6x, that gives me 351x. And it is positive. And then when I multiply 117 over 2 times negative 1, that's going to give me negative 117 over 2. You could also, if you wanted to, write that 117 over 2 as 58.5 because this really is 58.5. So it's a division problem. I'm going to switch my signs. So this becomes negative, this one becomes negative, this one becomes positive. And I need for my numbers to cancel out at the beginning. So I have 117x squared minus 117x squared. Those cancel. And I'm left with negative 17x, which I need to then subtract. Negative 17x minus 351. Oh, I apologize. I found a mistake. There should be an x here in this. So I need to subtract negative 17x minus 351x. That's going to be negative 368x. And then I have 0 plus 117 over 2, or 0 plus 58.5. So that's going to be just, I'm going to put 58.5 there just because I know you guys like decimals better than fractions anyways. So I can't do anything else with the problem, so I now have my answer. And my answer to my problem would be 5x squared minus 18x plus 117 over 2 plus my remainder, which is negative 368x plus 58.5 divided by 2x squared plus 6x minus 1. All right, so for our last problem, we have 3x to the third minus 2x squared plus 4x plus 7, and we're dividing this by x squared plus 2x. So I'm going to go ahead and set up our problem. So I have x squared plus 2x. I'm going to go ahead and put a plus 0 here because notice I am missing the constant term. And then I'm dividing that into 3x to the third minus 2x squared plus 4x plus 7. So I first have to figure out what number that I can multiply by x squared is going to give me 3x to the third. And the answer to that question is 3x. So now I'm going to multiply 3x times x squared plus 2x plus 0. Well, 3x times x squared is 3x to the third. 3x times 2x is 6x squared. And 3x times 0 is 0x. So now I've got to switch all of my signs. So this becomes negative. This becomes negative here, and this becomes negative there as well. So I'm going to combine what I need to combine now. Well, as always, my 3x to the third minus 3x to the third cancels. And I have negative 2x squared minus 6x squared, and that's going to give me negative 8x squared. And then 4x minus 0x is 4x. And then I'm going to bring down my 7. So now I've got to figure out what number times x squared gives me negative 8x squared. Well, that's going to end up being negative 8, because negative 8 times x squared is negative 8x squared. Then I'm going to keep multiplying. Negative 8 times 2x would be negative 16x. And then negative 8 times 0 would be 0. So I want my first terms to cancel, which in order to do that, remember I always have to change my signs. So this becomes a positive 8x, a positive 16x, and a negative 0 there. I'm going to put a minus sign there, which really doesn't matter because it's still 0. So I have negative 8x squared plus 8x squared. Those are, in fact, going to cancel, which is what I want them to do. And then I have my 4x plus 16x, which is 20x. And I have 7 minus 0, which is just 7. There is nothing that I can multiply by x squared to give me 20x, so my answer would be 3x minus 8 plus my remainder of 20x plus 7 divided by x squared plus 2x. And that's how I would leave it.